Hey and welcome, Miss Kira Speaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Your girl is finally back. We are here for Blood and Water, Season 2, Episode 7, our final episode of the season. I know y'all thought I wasn't coming back, those of you who cared, and those of you who didn't. I'm happy if you came through anyway. I have lots of notes. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. Some of these notes are old because I did them a long time ago because my last video was over a year ago. So bear with me, and I wanted to get these up before Thanksgiving, before Season 3, Episode 1 dropped, but life. Hopefully you didn't click off the video by now. Let's get started. So as the episode opens, we are with Janet. We see her, she's meeting with Detective Vans at what looks like a cafe type of situation. We can see someone is watching her as she leaves. That person's taking pictures, and we see the person pick up the phone to make a phone call. So we're back at Poolang's house, exactly where we were in episode 6. And KB's asking her, why do you have a picture of my mom? She had no idea it was his mom. And she says that she got the picture when she was interning at his dad's firm. And she lies and says she brought home some work one day and the picture must have just been randomly in there. Okay, Poolang. She says she was going to return it, and then he asked if it has anything to do with Fix. And at first she lies, and then she's like, I really don't know. So he says that he'll take the photo and everything else that she has that needs to be returned. And she's like, oh, you don't have to do that. I was going to do it this week anyway, but he insists and he leaves. And I was like, so Poolang, do you not know that you no longer have an internship anymore? So it looks like the next day, and there's a lab technician and they're swabbing Poolang and Sia's cheeks. Julius and Tandy are watching, and Tandy asks Detective Vans, who is also there, if they need to be swabbed. He's just there to be thorough, and he wants to consider the magnitude of the case. Poolang asks about Fix and if she's being swabbed as well, and what happens next. He tells her that his colleagues are with her as they speak. So at the Malapo households, it's Mr. Malapo, Fix, and the lady detective, whose name I can't remember, but it's later in my notes. And there's another person there, and Mr. Malapo lets them know that while the Baileys are locked up, any communication that they need to have with Fix can come through him. And the lady detective, she thanks him and says that they'll be in touch. So I'm assuming it's Polesmore Prison that we're at, and it's Mrs. Bailey, and there's Detective Vans and Detective Peterson. Is it Peterson or Anderson? We're going to go with Peterson. Detective Vans says, so to clarify, your husband doesn't know to this day that Fakila was, according to you, adopted. To clarify, Miss Bailey says, for the 1,000th time, he doesn't know. Detective Peterson asks how she got away with such a big lie for so long. Van speculates it's complicated and she must have needed a lot of help. But Miss Bailey, she just wants to clear her husband's name. Vans, he wants a full confession about the abduction of Pume and a list of her co-conspirators. But she insists that she legally adopted her when Matla comes in. He wants a moment with his client alone, and as soon as the detective leaves, he gets on to her like, what part do you not understand about keeping your mouth shut and not saying anything at all? And what part of clearing Brian's name didn't you understand? And she's like, I suggest you get me out of here before I start to sing. Back at school, Poolang is about to drop a bomb on Wade. She tells him that she thinks it's KB's mom. How, he wants to know. She don't know. We flash on over to Chris, and he's meeting up with Wendy for an update on Tahira. She gives him a quick play-by-play and asks what happened with Fix. You won't believe it if I tell you. She won't. So he asks her at the matric ball committee meeting later with Daniels that she holds off on telling her about Reese. Until when? The ball is soon. And they have no money left. She tells him it's not his fault and Reese needs to grow up and own it. He explains that she's going through some things, and Wendy just walks away. We know Reese is indeed going through a lot with her mom being in the institution that she has to pay for. Poolang and Wade continue to talk about KB's mom. There's no photos of her anywhere, and Wade says the detective needs to know this piece of information. And I get it's complicated because it's KB's mom. Speaking of KB, he walks up and says that they need to talk. She apologizes for lying to him all this time, but she says she did like him. He wants to talk about his mom. No more lies. Why do you have a picture of my mom? Was she involved in this? Now, we don't see his answer at the time because we head over to Daniel's office to talk about this matric ball committee. She congratulates them on exceeding their target, and she says the statement's incomplete. She asks Wendy, who is keeping tight-lipped as per her promise to Chris. She says that Reese was the treasurer and she prepared the documents. That's strange, ain't it? Chris says it's a printing error and Daniels lets them slide by with getting the info to her later. Please check all the documents in the future, and she looks forward to the ball. Wendy keeps her mouth closed as promised, and they skate by the skin of their teeth. So Chris and Reese and Wendy, they meet with the rest of the committee to figure out if the bank can help them get their money back. And Reese is preoccupied because she's ignoring calls from the facility that her mom is in because she owes them money. Chris says they need a plan. Chris and Reese, they have a little money to contribute, but the others don't. Wendy says a plan is the way to go. Let's split into groups and let's figure this thing out. We see Reese get a message that due to the non-payment, her mom is being discharged and she needs to arrange for transport. That cannot help. Chris comes up and he asks her what's going on, and I feel so bad for Reese. That's such a hard position for any teenager to be in, to be responsible for their adult parent. That's a lot. So Fix's dad, Brian, is home. She gives him a big hug, and then he and Matla discuss what's going on. But, Matla can't offer him much information. But, Brian, he just wants to make sure that Fix is okay. So Fix is not sure if she should call him dad. And he's like, I'm still your dad. So he asks her to excuse them, and Fix leaves, and Brian and Matla, they start to talk about this adoption. So you knew about this adoption or whatever it was, and he admits that he did. Brian is upset that he didn't say anything. He asks if the Pume Kamalo thing is real. Matla tells him, and Brian isn't happy. Meanwhile, Fix is ear hustling around the corner, and Matla tells him basically the less you know, the better. Sam, he still looks a little upset with his mom, and she asks if he spoke to Fix. He says he hasn't, but he wanted to invite her for dinner and that she needs to tell her what she knows. She tells him the detective is coming by at 5 to get the laptop and all the other evidence that she has, and he'll talk her through what happens, and after that would be okay, for Fix to come over and have dinner with them. As Sam leaves, we see some dude in the car he's watching, and he makes a phone call, and I was like, uh-oh, this whole situation is scary as hell because stuff like this happens in real life. Babies get abducted. I can't remember what the story here in America was. I mean, there's several, but there was a black girl who I cannot remember. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen what her name was. That was basically abducted from the hospital by a nurse. It's just so crazy. And Pulang is the only one that seems to be doing the work here. The detectives haven't been able to detect this case in 16 years, 17 years. It's just crazy. But let me get back to my notes and finish busting this thing out. So KB, he wants to talk to his dad, but he says he doesn't have the time, that he's got to meet with Brian and Nabiza. He tells him that he's been trying to get a hold of his mom, but she's not responding. He wants to know if she's okay, but Matla's like, I'm sure she's fine. So as he goes to walk out, KB asks him if he knew about the Fix and Pulang thing the whole time. It's complicated. Oh, is it, Mr. Malapo? Now is not the time. He needs to keep the Baileys out of prison, and he says that they'll chat later. Everyone is fundraising for this ball. Reese is doing what she does. Chris looks like he's selling some of his things. And I hope Daniels does not find out, is what I said to myself. So KB, he leaves Pulang a message that he's headed over to the other house to see if there's anything in Matla's archives that they may have missed. While he's busy getting his sleuth on, we see that Janet has a visitor. He finds a card from his dad, from his mom, I'm assuming. And the burglar gets in Janet's house and he gets the laptop when she comes downstairs. Thinking that it's Sam, she gets a surprise. He chokes her, he throws her on the floor, and I'm like, no, not the pregnant lady. Damn, these folks do not play. So Pulang and Zama, they talk about Mr. Wade. And Zama asks if she's sure that Wade is not gay. Pulang says she's sure. She's busy looking for something to wear because the two of them are supposed to go out later. I have in my notes that I haven't watched this in so long, but Pulang does not know what she wants. Get down in the comments and let me know if I'm wrong about this. I mean, I like KB and I like Wade too. So Pulang, she goes to just go on and text Wade and ask him what to wear, while Zama, she's over there texting work because these two have become fast friends, ? So we are having a Parkhurst car wash, and these kids they're trying to make the money for the ball. Fix is being put to work, confused about why they're still there raising money. Sam pulls up to her rescue. So Chris gives Wendy the 9,600 rands that he made, and she wants to know how. And he's like, sold my body to a rich old white lady. Chris is funny, but we know how he got the money. You want a sample, he asks, and he loves flirting with Wendy. So Sam and Fix, they're talking, and she reveals that she's going to get the paternity test results later. He apologizes and tells her that he wanted to invite her to dinner. She says that'll be great. Invitation accepted. He gets that call and finds out his mom has been attacked, and he's got to go. So Wade and Pulang have a date at the aquarium, and she's upset, and he says that the outfit he told her to wear was payback. She apologizes for putting him through the BS with her investigation, and he forgives her. He's glad he could help, and he says there's nothing that he wouldn't have done without her. No. She says she couldn't have done it without him. He says, #Wulang. And so now I want to know, are you team Wulang? Are you team KB and Pulang? Wade is that smart, awkward guy, and KB, he's smart and cool. So like I said, I like them both. He wonders if they'll ever finish what they started in the taxi that day. She'd love to, and so they kiss again. Sam asks his mom if she's sure she doesn't need to go to the doctor, and she says she's fine, and I wanted Miss Pregnant Ma'am to go get checked out by the doctor. Detective Van says it's time for them to speed up things. It's obvious that this relates to what she knows about the Fikile Bele Pume Kamalo case. They will need to go into witness protection, effective immediately. This is the only way that they could keep them safe. So it looks like no dinner with Fix. His mom apologizes to him. Detective Vans, he takes Sam's phone. Fikile, of course, is calling Sam, calling, and she gets no answer. Wendy says that they're up to 63,540, I think it was rands, and that they're still 40% short. We're not going to make it in time. They're all in the car together, and Fist asks Chris to take her home. It's all too much. At the prison, Matla tells Nabiza that she needs to talk to Brian, but she doesn't want to do that. She's afraid he'll leave her when he finds out the truth. What's the plan then, he wants to know. Get her out, that's the plan. She's not taking the blame all by herself. He asks her if she's lost her mind. Remind yourself who you're dealing with. She's already put measures in place to solve the situation. You just need to be patient. So Chris, he takes Wendy home, and she says he's a good friend. She may have been wrong about him, but don't get it twisted, she says. They're in this mess because of him. Back at the Kumalo household, the paternity results are in, but the detectives want to talk to Julius and Tandy alone. Pulang says that she wants to hear this. There's nothing more to hide. Detective Van suggests that they discuss the results first before they communicate them to Pulang. But she was not trying to hear it, so she ends up sitting down. I guess they honored her wishes. Detective Vance, he opens the envelope. Fikile is in fact the daughter of Tandy, but there is more. Upon further analysis, they determine that Fikile Bele is not the daughter of Julius Kamalo. Damn, mic drop. I did not see that coming, or maybe I did because I haven't watched it in so long, and he did try to sell her, so maybe he did know that wasn't his child. She is the half-sister of Pulang and Sia. I forgot how to pronounce his name. She is the half-sister of Pulang and Sio Kamalo. I bet Pulang wishes her nosy butt had waited and didn't get all this information dropped on her. What will this do for Tandy and Julius, I wonder? Now, sidebar, these videos, they're getting a lot of views, but not for long periods of time. And I don't know if it's because of my voice or my perspective. I'm American, so I can only sound one way. And as far as my perspective, I mean, the people that I'm talking about probably aren't watching this video up until this point, but my perspective, I'm an adult, I'm a grown up. I have kids myself, so my perspective is going to be different because maybe the people are watching it are more in the high school age, like the kids on the show. So I can only give you my perspective. I would apologize it before, but I can't. The same way you can only give your perspective as a younger person, I can only give you my perspective as a 40-something-year-old person. I shouldn't be explaining all this. I've also noticed a couple thumbs down on these videos, which hate to see it, but that's this YouTube journey that I'm on. I'm just constantly trying every day to, get better as a content creator and to get you guys more engaged. This one in particular, this video is going to be a little longer than it needs to be because I did this last year, and so half of the notes are from last year, half of the notes are from this year. And you know what, let me just stop talking and get caught up. I'm trying in the future when I record, I will say this. In the future, when I record season 3 is 6 episodes. I will probably do those on a weekly basis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be into 2023 before I finish. But I will try to do a little more of my commentary and do a little less notes. Fingers crossed, let's see how that goes. So Julius, he gets up and he leaves the room after Van says basically if they have any more questions or anything to address, that, you know, he's their guy. And, you know, Tandy, she cries about it. Then we head on over to Fix, who says her day just got worse. Who's her biological father, she asks. Detective Peterson says she doesn't know, that hasn't been disclosed yet. Brian asks, what now? She says it's time for Fakile to meet the Kumalos. She says she'll make arrangements in the upcoming weeks. Fix cries, and I was like, damn, that's a lot. Your whole life is a lie, and now you know, but you still don't know who your daddy is. This show is storylines. Chef's kiss. So the next day we're at Parkhurst and Chris meets with the students about the ball. After a few leave, they give a list of the areas where they need help. Catering and music are the 2 biggest categories where that help is needed. Later, KB, he meets with Pulang and he shows her the goodbye letter from his mom to his dad. It's dated just days after Fix's birthday. She reads it out loud and says it sounds like she was in a rush to leave. KB says that she worked for Point of Grace. They were involved in trafficking. Oh, Pulang knew. And the pieces, they're starting to come together. And those Malapos, they are not to be played with. Yikes. Pulang adds, and child laundering, your dad was on the board and he represented them when they were exposed. He says, she kidnapped Fakile, it has to be her. He believes that the sketch was made after the kidnapping. Then she decided to flee the country and go on the run, leaving his father to raise him. Damn, that's sad. She never came back, he says, and Pulang asks if he knows where she is, but he says not anymore. She tells him that they need to tell the police. We see Mrs. Bailey in court. The judge tells her no bail because she's a flight risk. Saw that one coming. So it's off to Pollsmoor Prison until her court date. Motley tells her to hang in there, but I'm sure that's the last thing that she wanted to hear. Tandy approaches her and says 17 years. That's what she stole from her family. It's matric ball night and everyone is dressed their best. Zama shows up and surprises Pulang. She's there with Mark. Everyone is pitching in and helping out. Pulang and Wade, they're helping with photography. Chris is a server. KB is in charge of the DJ who is not answering his phone. So Chris asks KB to use his phone for the time being and hop up in the DJ booth. Wendy and Sahira, they're in the kitchen wishing that they had not skimped on the food. Fakile also helps serve. Principal Daniels looks perplexed at the starters, but she gives her speech just the same. However, afterwards, she tells Wendy and Chris that they had the budget and that she's embarrassed. Wendy, she was about to sing when Chris steps up and he takes the blame. Principal Daniels wants to do an audit the next day. Yikes. The DJ finally comes through and KB tells everyone that they might want to get to the dance floor. Everyone is so hyped. Meanwhile, it's the middle of the night and Nabisa is being moved. No, not sketch at all. A vehicle follows the police bus. Back at the dance, Pulang goes to get a memory card because the one she has is full. KB comes back there and he wants to have a word with her. Pulang is excited about the DJ and KB reveals that he paid him with his dad's credit card. You know, that's the least he could do. Considering, she asks him what he's doing back there and he thinks that they should go to the police about his mom. She tells him that she's proud of him and it had to be hard. He hates how things ended. She says she does too, but you know, it is what it is. He kisses her and she kisses back. Fix, she walks up when they're kissing and she closes the door to give the two a little privacy. My kids are on some stuff right now. So everyone except for KB and Pulang are happy that they pulled it off. Folks are starting to head towards the door and Wendy is worried that what are they going to tell Principal Daniels? But Chris, he wants her to live in the moment. Reese, she overhears and she finds Principal Daniels in the ladies' room. And she confesses that she's the one that's been dealing at school. And I can say I did not see that one coming. Pulang gives Fakile a hug and she says that she's still trying to figure it all out. Vakili brings up seeing her and KB kiss, and she wants to keep that between them. Her life is a mess. The irony. She asks about Sam, and Fix tells her that he's been MIA. She hasn't heard from him in a few days. Can you help me find him? Sure, but first I have to help you find your dad. Yikes. These two got jokes. Wade walks over and gives Poolang a kiss, and then we see everyone enjoying themselves on that dance floor. Then all of a sudden, Fix's dad comes in and whisks her away. Someone kidnaps your mother. So Poolang, she follows them outside. Rishi walks up on Wendy and Chris that they are finally kissing. Do you guys like Chris and Wendy together? I do. So she tells them what happened to Fix. We hear Mrs. Bailey crying, asking where they're taking her. She's in that car that was following the police bus. Next thing we know, we see her. She's in an abandoned building with a bag on her head. They remove the bag from her head. Elizabeth, she says. We see the back of a lady, and she's in red. She sits down in the chair in front of her. What are you doing here? I'm here to clean up your mess, Nabisa, as usual. Talk to me about this little girl, Poolang. And that is where we end. And in case you didn't know, Lisbeth is KB's mom. Child, I told you this Malapos don't play. Between Matla and Lisbeth, baby. Season 3 has dropped. And my plan, like I said, was to get this up before it started. But what's she gonna do? Leave your thoughts and comments below. Please check out some of my other content and join me back here as we talk Season 3, Episode 1. Peace.